Black girl denied first-class seat, unaware her father owns the airline. When a teenage girl was stopped from taking her first-class seat, the flight crew assumed she didn't belong. But what they didn't know was who her father was, and when he arrived, everything changed. Watch until the end to see how this incredible story unfolds, and let us know what time you're watching today. The bustling atmosphere of the airport was filled with the sound of rolling luggage, announcements echoing overhead, and the scent of freshly brewed coffee from nearby kiosks. The excitement of travel was palpable as people navigated through security, eagerly awaiting their flights. Lily Johnson, a 16-year-old with bright eyes and an air of quiet confidence, walked through the terminal with her carry-on bag in tow. Her father, Davis Johnson, had surprised her with a first-class ticket for her birthday, a gift that she had worked hard to earn after months of school achievements. It was her first time flying in first class, and the thought of the spacious seats, gourmet meals, and luxury treatment made her heart race with excitement. She stood in line at the gate, eagerly checking her boarding pass as she waited for her moment to board. Her phone buzzed with a message from her dad. "Enjoy your first-class experience, sweetheart. You've earned it." Lily smiled as she typed a quick reply, feeling a surge of pride as she made her way toward the boarding area. Lily felt like a young adult stepping into a new world, a world that had previously seemed out of reach. Little did she know, her excitement would soon turn into an unexpected confrontation that would challenge her sense of belonging. Lily's heart skipped a beat as she approached the first-class section of the plane, ready to settle into her seat. But as she reached her row, a flight attendant stopped her in her tracks. What could go wrong? Lily held up her boarding pass, showing the large print that read 2A, First Class. "This is my seat," she said politely, her voice steady despite the rising unease in her chest. Stephanie barely glanced at the ticket before crossing her arms. "Miss, first-class seats are assigned to passengers with premium tickets. If you don't have the correct boarding pass, I'll need you to return to your assigned section." Lily's cheeks flushed as she looked at the ticket again. "But this is my assigned section. My dad bought this seat for me." Stephanie's lips curled into a skeptical smile. "Your dad bought it," she repeated, her tone dripping with doubt. "Right. Why don't we double-check with the gate agent?" Nearby passengers began to glance over, their whispers growing louder. A man in a suit raised an eyebrow, while a woman sitting across the aisle gave Lily a sympathetic look. Lily's heart pounded in her chest as she stammered, "I don't understand." "This is my ticket." Stephanie sighed dramatically. "Fine, sit for now. But I'll be verifying this shortly. If there's a mistake, you'll need to move." Lily nodded, her throat tight, as she slipped into the seat. She could feel the weight of the stairs around her, the humiliation bubbling under the surface. Stephanie walked off, but Lily's relief was short-lived. What if they forced her to leave? Lily sat in her assigned seat, her hands clasped tightly in her lap as the whispers of nearby passengers grew louder. She could feel the weight of their eyes on her, some glancing with curiosity, others with open judgment. The sting of Stephanie's earlier words lingered, and Lily struggled to hold back the frustration bubbling inside her. She replayed the scene in her mind, the dismissive tone, the skepticism, the assumption that she didn't belong. It wasn't just embarrassing, it was infuriating. All she wanted was to enjoy the first-class experience her father had gifted her, but instead, she was made to feel like an imposter in a space she had every right to be in. Lily reached for her phone, her thumb hovering over her dad's number. She thought about calling him, but a part of her hesitated. Her father had always told her to stand tall in the face of challenges and to handle situations with grace and confidence. "You belong wherever you choose to be," he would always say. Those words echoed in her mind now, giving her the strength to breathe deeply and stay calm. Looking around the cabin, Lily noticed a range of expressions from her fellow passengers. Some offered sympathetic glances, while others wore subtle smirks that only added to her discomfort. She wanted to explain herself, to shout that she had earned her seat just as much as anyone else there. Instead, she sat upright, lifted her chin slightly, and decided to wait. She trusted her father's wisdom and believed in her worth. If the flight attendant wanted to question her place, then she would let her father's actions speak louder than her own words. But as the moments dragged on, Lily wondered if staying silent was the right choice. What if things spiraled further before her dad arrived? The tension in the cabin was thick as Stephanie returned to Lily's row, this time accompanied by the gate agent. The flight attendant's expression remained one of skepticism, while the gate agent glanced nervously between Lily and the boarding pass in her hand. "Miss," Stephanie began, her tone clipped, "we've reviewed your ticket and—" Before she could finish, the cabin door opened, and David Johnson stepped onto the plane. Dressed in a perfectly tailored suit and carrying an air of authority, his presence immediately caught the attention of everyone in the room. He scanned the cabin, his sharp eyes landing on Lily. The moment their gazes met, her shoulders relaxed slightly, and she offered him a faint, relieved smile. Davis walked purposefully down the aisle, his tall frame exuding confidence. Stephanie turned toward him, her irritation momentarily giving way to confusion. "Sir, we're just handling a seating issue here," she said, forcing a polite tone. Davis didn't slow his stride. "A seating issue," he repeated, his voice calm but carrying a weight that silenced the murmurs around him. "With my daughter?" Stephanie blinked, her mouth opening and closing as she processed his words. "Your daughter?" she echoed weakly. Davis stopped beside Lily, placing a reassuring hand on her shoulder before turning to face Stephanie and the gate agent. "Yes, my daughter. And I'd like to know why she's being questioned about her seat, especially when her boarding pass clearly states she belongs here." The manager escorted Stephanie to the back, leaving the cabin in an uneasy quiet. Passengers exchanged glances, their expressions a mixture of shock and awkward embarrassment. Some murmured among themselves, while others avoided eye contact altogether as if grappling with their own complicity and silently observing the earlier confrontation. Davis turned to Lily, his expression softening. He crouched slightly to meet her gaze at eye level. "Are you okay, sweetheart?" he asked, his voice filled with concern. Lily nodded, though her voice trembled slightly. "I'm fine, Dad. But why does this always happen? Why do people assume?" Davis placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder. "Because some people don't see beyond their own biases. But today, they learned that assumptions have consequences. And more importantly, you showed them what it means to handle a situation with grace." As he stood up, Davis addressed the cabin, his voice calm but deliberate. "To everyone here, let this be a reminder. The next time you see someone, don't assume you know their story based on how they look or what you think you know. Every person deserves respect, whether they're my daughter, a stranger, or anyone else." The cabin fell silent as his words settled over the passengers. A man in a tailored suit across the aisle cleared his throat and then spoke hesitantly. "Mr. Johnson, I just want to say I'm sorry. We all should have spoken up earlier." A woman in the row ahead of Lily chimed in, her tone genuine. "She's lucky to have a father like you. And for what it's worth, she handled herself beautifully." As the plane soared through the sky, Lily gazed out the window, watching the clouds drift past. The tension of the earlier confrontation was fading, replaced by a sense of quiet pride. She turned to her father, who was seated beside her, his posture relaxed, but his expression thoughtful. "Thank you for standing up for me, Dad," she said softly. Davis smiled, his voice warm but firm. "I'll always stand up for you, Lily. But you stood up for yourself first, and that's what I'm most proud of. You didn't let them shake you." Lily nodded, her confidence growing with his words. "I just wish people didn't judge so quickly." Davis leaned forward slightly, his tone carrying the weight of years of wisdom. "People will judge, no matter what. It's not right, but it's the reality. What matters is how you respond. Every time you rise above it, every time you demand the respect you deserve, you're teaching the world to be better." As the flight attendant from another section approached, she placed a fresh glass of sparkling water on Lily's tray with a kind smile. "From the crew, with our sincerest apologies," she said, her voice genuine. Lily glanced at her dad, who nodded approvingly. She sipped the water, letting the moment of vindication sink in. Davis leaned back in his seat, glancing at his daughter. Remember, Lily, you belong wherever you choose to be, and no one has the right to make you feel otherwise.